Yeah, we're good to go.
So, last time we played, last time we were on here, we talked about wargaming, which that was a pretty interesting and fruitful conversation. Went a little bit off topic.
Did you have somewhere you're going with that?
Yeah, actually, I did.
Okay.
I wanted to know wargaming. Like, how would you bring mass combat, or maybe even just the preliminary, owning a stronghold, maintaining things like maintaining an army? How would you bring that into a role playing game?
Well, I know there's a lot of systems that have already been created for it, and there's examples that we can find in L5R. Other interesting. Matt Colville released his own book.
Yeah, the Stronghold and Followers from Matt Colville.
Honestly, I probably would. Any ideas I have of my own would probably be incorporated from different strategy games or simulation games where the entire objective is to do something like build a town up or.
I know, in the past I've given y'all as players the opportunity to do that before. You might have been in college during that time.
What do you mean?
There was one game, I know that Joey was in it, and the players got to about 13th or 14th level, and they ended up with a fortress, and they sided with one of the political powers, and there was a, onset of war. So we started almost doing kind of the sim management thing to a certain degree in between adventures, where, sometimes the players would take time and focus on training the troops or something like that. And I gave small advantages to the troops based on who was training and things like that. But looking back at it, I gotta say it wasn't a very organized system.
It was more role-playing.
More role-playing
and
off the hip.
So, two of the games I can think of, the first would be the Romance of the Three Kingdoms series, especially the early ones, the Wall of Fire, etc.
Wow, I'm surprised we didn't mention any of
Where,
those during Wargaming yesterday.
Well, no, there's a 5,000 PC
game
strategy games.
Oh, it's just one we both played.
But the idea that, like you just mentioned, I can invest in the dam. Why? Because there's a river nearby, and should floodplain be an event, oh, you guys have this thing above the DC I have set for the flood. Or
I think
that's how I would try to build
when
up that
when
kind of
I
thing.
did that, if I would have included more things like that,
you have more to diversify what their resources go to.
There was investment, but the investment was just in certain rooms of that fortress, because I used this was back in 3.5, so I used the strongholds. No, that's Colville's book. What was it? I can't remember the name of the book. There's a book about building keeps, and I was using the prices to build things out of that. So people were trying to push together money because they wanted the best alchemy shop, or the best alchemy, not shop, but lab. And then one person was like, "We need a blacksmith."
And then they don't have walls.
Yeah.
But the other one that I would pick, or the other thing that I would do actually is, or pick really is like Epic Tavern, things like that, where. Oh, okay, you want to get the alchemy shop. Well, we're not just going to give you a base price for the alchemy shop. What's going to happen now is, since you don't have an alchemy shop at all, there's going to be a quest that you have to do to get your alchemy shop. I'm going to give you a person or a thing that you have to acquire in order to get your alchemy shop, and I'm going to make it something that you can't purchase, so you have to quest for it.
I don't know
something
if
small,
I don't know
whole...
if I would necessarily take the can't purchase off the table, but I think... I think if you purchase it, it's like you get the lower quality version.
And it might be, and it's a lot more expensive than what's going to happen when you go on your quest.
Yeah.
And the quest might be, oh, well, the guy that you actually there's you get a reward out of it. So the reward is the building, but it could also be something along the lines of a person who can work it of high quality. Or some unique aspect of it.
Yeah, it's something unique. That's where I was going. Imagine the setting we're playing in for our Tuesday game, right? Let's say that your character settled down for a fortress somewhere, and I go, well, you guys want an alchemy shop, and although you guys are alchemists, or some of you might be, you want a steady alchemist at home cranking out healing salves or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And you guys do the gather information, you find out, You can go to Le Monde and you can hire a apprentice alchemist for this price, or maybe a journeyman alchemist for this price. But then at the same time, if you roll high enough or you do good enough investigation, I might also throw you the bone of... and there's rumors of a tiefling who's been working on making different forms of alchemist fire that don't just do fire damage.
Like something that's not OP balanced.
Yeah, and he lives out, or the last place he was seen was out in the Grey Peaks.
Well, here's the thing. You could turn it into its own quest, or you can help it direct the next series of the quest you're going to be on. Like, oh, man, they have like 3 options that they can go on. The one I'd really like them to see go on first is this one here. I'll throw the incentive for them to do that by making that be the location where this thing that they want
the other thing you could do is, like, let's say you guys were going into the Underdark for some reason, and you guys are going through doing whatever the quest is at the time, and then you happen upon a dude who's like a slave to the Drow, and you find out, oh shit, this, just in talking to him, if the players decide to do any of that. And to find out that this guy is alchemist who's very good at making poisons. So really, he's a poisoner. But yeah, no, and he also knows how to make the drow poison.
But I would definitely create a base of things. Like in Romance 3 Kingdoms, you got the farm and the dam and training and
creating,
depending on which version of the game you're playing, like
creating more events. It's like creating a list of events that can be impacted by dice roll.
Yeah, and then once you have those base stats, then if the players come up with some other things you hadn't thought of, you can determine
There's no
where
reason
does that fit.
Yeah, if it fits in the paradigm of what's going on,
don't. I mean, like somebody says, I want to build a hangar with a Zeppelin shop.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying, but you don't have, so anything like some crazy thing that the player comes up with, you never would have thought of. You just figure out which one of these stats would kind of be in the same realm.
Yeah, as long as it isn't outlandish to the world that you're creating, and it isn't setting breaking.
Well, yeah.
Don't discount the free ideas that your players will throw, because they will feed you.
Well, the biggest thing too is it's their keep or their thing, their town that they're building up, whatever. And so if you give him a verbatim thing that says this is what you can and cannot do here, that's not their town. That's not their keep.
No.
They're just playing a thing, like a manager for somebody else's thing.
It's like if you have a laid out system, it's a great skeleton from which to move into more interesting ideas.
Like if somebody's like, I want a moat with alligators.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a brand new thing where they go into swamplands and now they have to fight alligators, and then later they have to fight the super dire alligator, like Clutch Mother, who's actually what all the other alligators, non-sentient alligators, prey to without realizing, like the very basis of mysticism. Yeah, in order to get the things you need to fulfill.
That's actually a cool idea.
Well, exactly, things like that. Like that, you just, whatever it is they come up with, you had to just come up with some kind of idea to, how do I turn this into a quest and make there a big bad guy?
How do I find a way to turn it interesting? Yeah.
You've seen it happen in video games tons of times. So that's really all you got to do is figure out what it is.
It's kind of like in
there.
Kingmaker. You can get the ogres on your side, right?
No.
Yeah, you have to play chaotic evil though.
Oh.
That's the stipulation.
I know you can let that one ogre get out.
You can let that one ogre, but if you're chaotic evil, you can actually get the ogres to like side with you, and then you'll have like ogre citizens.
Now my problem is, what's wrong? What do the ogres really do to prove that they are a chaotic or evil race in that game?
Or not ogres, sorry, they were trolls, but same idea.
Oh. Yeah, What I'm saying, what do they really do to prove they're chaotic evil in that game?
In that game as a race, they really didn't.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You have, before you get to the point where like that decision has to be made, you have the opportunity to get one random encounter with an immediately hostile troll, and then two encounters.
Okay.
Because I'm going to call that entire map in front of the dude's house that has the trapped one encounter.
Okay, because that's what it is.
But then the trap troll will talk to you.
Which trap troll? Oh, the one that's in the cell?
Yeah, the one that's been experimented on.
Yeah.
He'll talk to you. He'll ask to be released. Like you have dialogue with him. He actually speaks.
Yeah.
And then the first time you go to the Troll City,
real quick, when you release him, right?
Homeboy rolls in him.
Yeah.
And whacks
But
him out.
but did it look like that dude was about to like bash your head in before dude rolls in? No. Not very chaotic evil.
No. Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying.
And then the first dude you meet when you roll down to the Troll City, also all about talking, all about we trolls are trying to become more like the humans. It's all because of this one smart kobold that showed up one day and was like, kobolds and trolls should be fucking homies. And then, if you get him to take you down to the king is still a dipshit, but just because the leader's a dipshit, that
doesn't mean they're chaotic
Yeah.
evil. Yeah, I think Monster Races get a bad rap to some of these. But then again, apparently there's games out there where people are like, no, Monster Races are Monster Races to be bashed in the face, and I shouldn't have to think about whether or not they're a good guy or not. And honestly, I don't get that out of D&D. Like, if I wanted, like, blind racism, I could just walk out in the world.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, no, I mean, since we're talking about that game, but it is Pathfinder, D&D, they're pretty much the same thing. The thing that got me about that game is the way they presented everything leading up. I really thought, even as a neutral character, I'd be able to ally, maybe not with all of the trolls, but with some of them, because clearly enough of them were acting intelligent, doing trade. And I was like, okay, you might just have that little territory down to the south, and that means I have a new neighbor I can trade with, and possibly someone to call on if we get into a oh shit war. But no, it was like, no, your only option is murder, mayhem. I was like, even though my character is lawful neutral, I feel like I'm playing chaotic evil.
Well, that's the problem with the PC game of any role-playing, of any extensive role-playing game.
I mean...
it's just as good as how many options the writers truly give you in that game.
Well,
Which is why, like, compare it though. Compare Pathfinder and Icewind Dale and Torment to other role-playing games. And tell me if it already doesn't give you so many options that you really can't complain.
The only one on that list that like gives the almost but not truly unlimited, seemingly unlimited options is Planescape Torment.
Compare them to Final Fantasy VII. All three of those.
Shit.
Yeah, now you get what I'm saying. Compared to most role-playing games, the standard of what a role-playing game is, they give you the gamut. Like, you can do what you want.
Which actually is interesting to me. I don't know.
Except you can't kill kids anymore, a la Fallout 1 and 2, because everybody's got their panties in a bunch. I would never make it into Australia.
No, so I'm curious who the story writers are. I mean, I'm sure it's easy to look up, but I haven't. But are any of the story writers that were involved in the writing of Icewind Dale, Baldur's Gate 2, Planescape Torment, do any of those people write modules?
Oh, I'm sure there's some
the reason
I'm
I'm curious about this is in those video games, what?
Multipath modules.
In the video games, they do the multipath.
That's something good that we should look into, because the whole point of the module we're building is this idea of a multipath, so it's replayable and you really feel like you have agency and options in the game. Wow.
Yeah, I made a mess.
Agency and options in the game. And so, I want to, the ideal one is, you build Gary Gygax's module that also has 8 different endings.
Well, yeah, but I mean...
That's the ideal.
On the other hand, if you look at some of his modules, they were hella lean, like railroad as hell. But then some of them... I mean, look at the Village of Hamlet.
Yeah, I'm talking about
That is a module though.
Yeah.
That's like module 3, 2. I don't know. It's one of the earlier modules. But the Village of Hamlet is a very nicely presented village. It's like step 1 of leading to the Temple of Elemental Evil, but unto itself. There's a couple of very vague hooks, but it's not this definitive hardline quest chain.
So I'm looking up the Torment PC game to see what their
Who their writers are?
Who did their writing, and see if I can find that development. Let's see. Zeb Cook basic. Yeah, the game was Colin McComb. Was by Colin McComb. Based on Flight. What? 3 Planescape games developed by Black Island. Kingsville. I gotta look up that later, but let me see if I can just find.
The writers?
Yeah. So McComb, he helped design the whole Planescape setting.
Yeah. No, he did the setting. I know that.
So he joined Torment. Let's see. Lead writer is Chris Avalon. Yeah, so.
Chris Avalon.
Yeah, so they definitely.
He does a
build
lot
modules.
of video game writing and comics. Chris Avalon is big on also the Fallouts.
And Pathfinder.
And Pathfinder. Yeah.
Yeah, he built his own.
He's also, I believe, he was one of the people who ended up writing out the Fallout tabletop. I'm curious if they got him working on the new that new Fallout tabletop they announced like mid to late last year.
I don't know. I know that I'm still looking at that Patrick Rothfuss. They're incorporating him more and more in different things. He was in Tides of Numenoria for part of the script writing. He did a fantasy novel. He has a TV show coming out with Lin-Manuel Miranda, the guy who did Hamilton the play. Like, dude's career is blowing up, and I really like his book series, and I really hope you read it. Like, it's really solid. Oh. That's weird. That person isn't even showing up on my...
Oh.
Oh, Zimmer wants us to come by and pick up his tracks. So anyway,
shoot us a link and we'll take a look at it.
he's not in the room anymore.
Oh well.
He just came in and dropped spam.
Well. Could be worse.
Yeah.
Could be better.
Somebody didn't come into the room and just say balls 18 times and leave. That's fun.
Ha! Yeah,
So,
that is,
no,
that is promising.
I think that I'm pretty sure that these people have modules. There's probably something to look into to see if they've done these multi-path, multi-track modules. Specific people
Well,
that
I
we know have
mean,
made
they
games
clearly
similar.
have experience in them because they write the video games.
Yeah, and the video games are these multi-path games that have multi-endings and stuff.
Also,
So-
I think that we went on the right path with our module where we created characters that will have continuity through the story.
Yeah, that there's an impact in Act 1 to Act 3, the first module to the third module.
Because that's one of the things I really do enjoy about, like, the video games, but also the setting. Like, you play Baldur's Gate, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember the name of that frickin' Ranger Barbarian that has the space squirrel?
No, I don't.
I remember the squirrel's name is Boo, but I can't remember the name of...
I can't remember much.
The
of
picture
Baldur's
has
Gate.
the swirly purple war paint.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think that one.
Yeah. The only reason that character's hyper memorable to me is, like, every time you went into combat, he'd start, like, raging and talking to the... Not squirrel, it was a hamster. Sorry. The space hamster. The miniature giant space hamster.
Miniature giant space hamster. So a normal hamster.
Yeah.
Running joke.
Well, I mean, before it was that, but then eventually they actually statted it in the Planescape Torment setting.
Oh, really?
Or not Torment, but Planescape, yeah. There are actual
Planescape
miniature...
is such an interesting setting in that you can really use it to go wherever you want.
I think...
Plus, it itself is this really depressing, like the dredges of humanity, little cesspool funnel.
You're talking about Sigil.
Oh, yeah, Sigil. Is there any place else in Planescape? I haven't...
Planescape is pretty
Sigil.
much everything. No,
Yeah, I
Sigil,
know, but Sigil is like-
is the central hub of Planescape.
Yeah, it. But I mean, Planescape, the other spots are just different places in different planes.
Yeah.
Really.
Planescape... Well, I
So
was
if you had
about to
nail
say,
it down
yeah.
to one location, it would just be Sigil.
If I had to nail it down, I couldn't nail it to just one.
Yeah, Sigil.
If I had to like give locations. It's like 3 that are all Yeah, Sigil. Fine, Sigil. We're not gonna.
Sigil.
We could lose an hour just on that topic.
On the Planescape.
Well, yeah, Sigil is connected, like directly connected, beyond the fact that it's connected to everything. There's a couple of planes that are more, like I said, it's tedious but fun, and a topic for another day.
Dominaria.
Dominaria? Well, see, that's the fun thing about Sigil. Sigil opens you up, like, you're right, the city itself, if you stay in the Hive, Clerk, or I forget what the other ward is. But if you stay in the 3 less favorable wards, less favorable isn't exactly the right term, but the place where the more common people live, yeah, it's dredges of society packed into an impossibly tight, yeah, it's a very tight city. The only places that are like more open and more spacious are the ladies' ward, which is still tight, but now you're talking about opulent homes that are crammed right next to each other. And
There's still a sense of dread though as well.
Yeah, that's something they picked. That weird bladed, the bladed architecture.
It's just there's a sense of dread.
Yeah, there's a hanging sense of dread.
It might not be overt, but it definitely puts that feeling out.
Well, the standing thought that at any moment the Lady of Pain, this like towering 25-foot tall, robed figure with a mask with swords coming out of her head, could float by, and if you happen to cross her path, you just become eviscerated. I mean, that's the top of the oh shit list, and then it goes all the way down to the different gangs that are in the Hive that might just shiv you and then try and sell your corpse to the collectors.
I was trying to think about the. Oh, please continue. I'm sorry. I had a thought that kind of passed me.
Well, my bad.
Sigil, no, it's not your fault. On Sigil and something about that. I can't remember now. Oh, sorry.
See, I've run Sigil, like in my game. I've actively run Sigil twice. What?
I remember now.
Go ahead.
No, I'll remember it. Sigil twice.
I've run Sigil twice, and both of those games became sort of almost like a flavor of the week. Because I didn't deal with being in Sigil so much as I dealt with going out of Sigil.
Like trying to escape Sigil?
No, literally
using
operations.
Sigil as a base.
A base hub.
Yeah, that's the...
What I ran one game, I forget what I named the guild, but essentially, someone would come to the guild with, we want this particular item, or we want something that's not accessible in Sigil. And that guild would then use high-level magics to find out where they can get it the easiest. And then they would grab a squad of their people and say, hey, so what you need to collect is the skull of a demi-lich. We know a place where there is definitely a demi-lich that has about a 50% chance of not being active. Good luck. We're sending you to the Tomb of Horrors on Greyhawk. And then the players would be sent, and they'd have like a time limit, be it a week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and then they'd have to go do their thing, and at the end of that time limit, they'd get called back. So they were kind of like Tomb Raiders, but on an extraplanar level.
The thought that I had earlier was Dominaria. I said Dominaria, and I thought back to the old Microprose Magic the Gathering PC game, and I was like, ooh, I wonder if you could zoom that out and use it as a map.
I guarantee you can. Like, I would bet money you can.
And just run it the same way. Like,
but
the magicians in that world only get spells based on, like, finding them out in the wild, and the spells are all, like, giant growth. And, berserk, double target strength for 1 round.
But that would be fun. That's a great idea. It would turn a bunch of them into summoners.
Crazy. Yeah, summoners.
So, and like, when they would engage in combat, you'd have to find a way to not balance. You'd have to find like the time limits, like how long can they summon something, or that'd be an interesting thing. You look at the mana cut, like the converted mana cost, and you're like, okay.
I know.
So,
They're mages, and they only get mana based on their level, or if they have access to things that produce mana or mana from the natural.
What I was thinking is
landscape.
they would have like a pool, so they could like quick cast. Then like let's say they want to cast something like the Shivan Dragon. Interesting idea, right? So they can either quick cast if they have the spell points essentially.
It's like unaffected by summoning sickness can attack and dies at the end of the turn.
Or, yeah, and then you put those kind of stipulations for them quick casting it. Or they can be like, I've got my minions on the field. Shivan Dragon takes 6 rounds to cast. What's that wizard doing? You see him chanting. You also have a legion of goblins in your face, but he's back there chanting. It's very clear that he's chanting. Shit. We need to break his concentration somehow. If they give him the 6 turns...
Shivan Dragon drops.
Yeah.
I don't know what spell it would be for a fucking wizard to summon a dragon. Is that like a summon...
Well, I mean, the Shivan Dragon would... The thing is, you would have to take the time to convert all those monsters into some form of...
Well, Nicobolus is like a 9 something. And he's the most powerful, well, according to their canon.
Yeah, so the Shivan is only a 5/5, so that'd be like...
That'd be like a level 10 or 10 CR.
Yeah, that'd be like a adult dragon or something like that.
10 CR summon.
So, even if they like hard cast it, it's only around for so many turns, or maybe it doesn't come in with full hit points.
Who can do a level 10 CR summon? What level do you have to be for that?
I don't know, but I mean, we're also changing this because we're making it so they have to have an item probably or something.
Mana pool. They have a mana pool given to them.
Well, they have the mana pool, but you said they have to find the spell.
Oh,
Unlike
yeah.
a spell book, they probably have like the tooth of a Shivan Dragon.
Yeah.
Or the ruin inscribed tooth of the first Shivan Dragon.
Oh, that's a legendary 5/5.
That would be like
comes
summoning.
Into play with haste.
Yeah, that'd be like.
Or
but the thing
unaffected by
is,
summoning
once you
sickness,
create these
rather.
things, if they kill someone with them, your players have access to it. They'd have to figure out how to use it, but they have access to it.
It'd be an interesting way to incorporate Magic the Gathering. But, I mean, they already have their ways. I'm sure there's going to be a source book coming out for Dominaria.
Well, not Dominaria yet, but they do have...
Ravnica?
Yeah, Ravnica.
They released the Guilds of Ravnica?
Yeah. It's actually a really good book.
When did they release that?
Last
month?
year... Last year, I think September?
Really?
Yeah. Guilds of Ravnica, they've essentially added the Magic the Gathering, which there was nothing stopping you from doing before, but it is now within the D&D multiverse.
Well, Wizards at it, so why not take and use all your...
Why not combine the two? Yeah, definitely. That would be a very interesting, that'd be an interesting way to incorporate something. You have a planeswalker, essentially. Planeswalker being the term for Magic the Gathering. So essentially like a high-powered wizard. Show up anywhere in your world, and then all of a sudden you've got this army.
You mean like if a Planeswalker were to be running away and then was chased by, like, let's say, Phyrexians?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And you introduce that whole concept.
It's a cool idea.
It can be.
It's actually a really neat idea.
It surely can be. I mean, it really becomes a thing of balance and what spells are what spells that you're making up out of nothing. What level are they?
I mean, there's a lot of spells that you can already kind of draw
get
the
a little
line.
OP, honestly, because why not? I mean, why not let the player be OP? Oh, is the player too OP? All I gotta do is move up a bit. I mean, as long as it's not one player's OP and another player isn't, that's when you start getting into problems where, like, oh shit, how do I balance this without killing half the party and still being a threat
thinking.
or a
So
challenge?
you have enlarge, reduce as a spell, right?
Okay.
That's what D&D has. But You mentioned it. Was it a giant growth,
Giant
or
growth,
monstrous
yeah.
growth?
So,
So let's say they find this druid and they kick the shit out of him. And they end up finding this sprig of giant growth, and they eventually figure out how to activate it, but still haven't done it. And when they finally do, they're like, we're gonna cast it on the barbarian. All of a sudden, the barbarian just like rips out and is like a fucking huge, because that's not what it's not what enlarge reduce can manage. So all of a sudden you have this
giant growth.
giant growth.
Yeah, it's like +6 strength. What? Yeah, it only lasts like 1 round. But dude goes to huge size, he gets +6 strength.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, he's good for one really, really big whack. And if you, like, let's say, imagine you start thinking about it like Magic the Gathering, right? I'm gonna hold my thing reaction for put giant growth on Steve's Barbarian. I'm gonna hold my reaction to swing at him when he comes at me. And so the guy goes, and suddenly the Barbarian goes,
That'd be pretty cool.
yeah, just like giant growth would be used in the real game. What? You attacked? I'll defend with this little weenie. Giant growth. It could be real fun.
See, now I'm almost thinking of the Magic the Gathering spells to be converted into something akin to like scrolls or wands, where you get a certain amount of uses out of them before they're dried up.
Well, like something like giant growth, something like an instant, I'd say, well, you have so many of these a day, or do it
like a
so
wand,
many,
which recharges at the end of the day.
And then for something bigger, like a summon, you can go, no, only every this often. You can also base it off an actual mana pool that doesn't exist in D&D. They never have a mana pool. There's no mana pool that wizards pull from. So you actually give
the closest they have. The
pool.
closest they have to it is this is really reaching to say close, but the sorcerer's spell points.
Yeah, but I mean, did they do that in 5th ed?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would say though is, imagine that you're using mana, but now like Llanowar Elves. Well, if you're in a forested area and you actually have either, you could say like this totem or an actual friggin' elf with you that's from this thing, those people can provide you 1 extra mana into your mana pool
each
during
round
combat, when you're in this area. Or, you know what I mean? And then you can add in different little bits like that affect your mana pool, so you can kind of scale up your mana pool, because something like Shivan Dragon might be like 20 mana to cast.
Yeah.
Like that might take, I can cast 1 spell and it'll take like a couple turns to cast it, but I can cast it and it'll be this much mana. It'll be most of my pool or something.
This is an interesting idea we need to pursue further.
Well, I would be very curious to be able to see how the conversations like this went down at Wizards for bringing it in. I want to know, like, are the people that brought in the Wizards D&D, are they like, oh, Magic the Gathering, that's kind of cool, I've seen it before? Or are they like, yeah, I play Magic a little bit? Or are they like, I've played Magic since I was a small child, and I know the storyline at the back of my hand, and I love it with all of my heart, and I will let it use me like cardboard crack. Like, because that's the guy who should be making the game. The guy who's like, no, I've spent more time in this world than pretty much any other world in Nerdom.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question.
It would just be interesting to figure out like who was involved in that. But that's all researchable. That's stuff I can actually go look up when we get done.
I kind of like the idea of these summons, though. Like, even if you made it like limited use, like what I'm thinking with the Shivan Dragon, right? Just not following the mana pool idea. I love the mana pool idea, but it's something that needs to be developed. But let's say going down the line of the Shivan Dragon, you have to find, or you pick it up somewhere along the way, this ruin carved fucking fang. It's like the size of a dagger, so it can actually be used as a magical dagger to stick people, right? But if you attune and figure out how to use it, you can summon a Shivan Dragon.
Yeah, but the attune would be something along the lines of like, maybe for something like a Shivan Dragon, something that's like legendary.
No, in this context, attuning, I really mean not just the magic item attunement, but also there's a thing they added in 3rd edition, 3.5, where there were magic items that required you to do certain things to gain access to their full power. But what I'm thinking is it has the ability to summon this 1 Shivan Dragon. So you got the dragon, and that's cool. You can bring it onto the field, it can do stuff. But if that dragon dies, This turns into the +1 knife that it looks like.
And you can summon it back into the
You
dagger.
can put it back into the dagger and you can bring it out. But if it dies, bye-bye birdie. If you don't heal it before you put it in the dagger, it doesn't heal. So you gotta bring it back out and heal that sucker. It's still a resource sink. But you got this really cool thing.
Yeah.
It does take up one of your 3 magic item slots, though.
You only get 3 magic items?
Yeah. Unless you are a particular class, you can... Well, I mean, there are certain items that don't require attunement, but attunement items, you can only have 3.
Items. That makes sense. You can only have 3 legendary spells at any given time.
Some of the item attunements aren't...
I started thinking about other spells, like things like, okay, lightning bolt, fog. I'll prevent all damage from combat this turn.
I would make it like a more intense version of...
No one attacks. You can't attack, they can't attack, nobody attacks, no, none.
Yeah, like the Obscuring Mist spell. I think it's Obscuring... Might just be called Fog. Either way,
Channel.
But you make it a more
You
intense
convert
version.
HP directly into mana when your mana pool's so low and you're going to die if you don't get access to spells. You can cast this one spell that you have where you like cut yourself and put it in, and now you're
I like that
getting
idea.
mana back into your mana pool in exchange for health in order to be able to cast the spell.
See, that one you could translate in a couple of ways. You could do the mana pool thing, but then for like a normal wizard, you could be like, okay, for a level 1 spell slot, you have to sacrifice 5 hit points. For level 2, 10. I'm not saying that the numbers I'm throwing are the ones that you need to focus on, but essentially make it a scaling thing. So if you want a level 9, spell slot,
You need to get out like
you gotta cut yourself for like 60, 70, 80 health. So you really, it's like
you're
you're just
level
going
20 gauge, you're about to die. You've channeled,
channel meteor swarm. It's like, you nearly killed yourself, but whoever was fucking
you
with
did a
you.
one-turn combo, bro.
Yeah.
Which I still think is one of the best, coolest, funnest combos ever. I got to play it on Proxy on Apprentice. Channel Fireball. Because you use Black Lotus with it to get the extra mana.
The
And
other
you can still
cool
do
thing
it,
is, if you really get to looking at Magic, this is something I have done before. Just pull out a stack of Magic cards and just start leafing through, and you're like, Ooh, Goblin Rocketeer. I'm gonna build that monster.
Goblin Sled.
Goblin.
What was it? What was
Goblin Rock Sled.
Yeah, the most useless fucking card in the game.
Mog Fanatic.
Goblin Balloon Brigade.
Yeah, but the thing is, sure, I've just been using goblins, but they create all these weird monsters, right? And then either they have enough flavor text on that card to give you a really good idea of what the hell this thing is supposed to be and the kind of feeling it's supposed to have, or it's like an integral part of the storybook. So if you just go and if you go to Google right now and type in Nicobolus,
yeah, you're gonna find out.
You're gonna find out a whole bunch of crap about a really badass dragon.
Arch dragon.
Yeah. So that it's a great
Urtai, Wizard Adept.
It's a great resource for ideas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what all the role playing and fantasy stuff is, though. It's just, and where did D&D come from, right?
Yeah. Oh, wargaming.
And Tolkien.
Yeah, and well.
And look, if you're gonna tell me
their
their Nerdom did come from,
yeah. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing it.
Their Nerdom came from nerd culture from before them. I mean, imagine how bad it was for us being nerds in the 90s, right? If you were a nerd in the late 60s, early 70s, they must have thought you were like a pedo, like Otto or something, like something really messed up. Like, he's really weird. Like, no, I think he's gonna like kill somebody one day. Why? Because he's just sitting in the corner with books with his friends, and they're all laughing about nothing, and we don't understand. Like, we should beat him up a lot.
Well, I mean,
I can only imagine.
There were a lot of religious institutions that weren't.
Well, there was that backlash in the 80s over there, the late 70s, early 80s, where they did the whole little pamphlet that went around.
Yeah.
And then she killed herself because her character died. Like, if somebody kills themselves because literally only because. Like, their life is perfect, everything's fine, they have a great thing going, and then they kill themselves because their character died. Look, suicide is not a joke, but that person shouldn't be on Earth. If that's all it took. Like they have a great home life, they've met all their goals and expectations.
There's still depression.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that's what I'm saying. If all those other things, like there's nothing for them to be depressed about, really.
There's
Well, I mean, there's always depression.
There's still
Yeah, always
depression.
depression.
So I would say back off of that.
And
topic.
they weren't chemically imbalanced.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, like, it would never happen. It's not possible.
Yeah.
But if it did, you'd be like, wow.
Yeah. So
No, just because it's not that important. It's not a thing. And for people to have made that claim, like, don't you know, your character might die and you're so attached that you'll kill yourself. Like how do you attack an entire culture that way?
Well, at that time it was such a niche culture. It was easy for them to do, and some of those people were just looking for excuse, an enemy, something to persecute.
Yeah, something to make everybody scared of in order to, like, have you be on their side, because they're the ones that are going to save you from this scary new thing taking over the country.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
All they did was slow it down. D&D still took over.
Yeah, well, Nerdom is now the all thing. It's the new consumer thing to be. I mean, don't believe me? Take a look at NBA stars' weird clothing choices that look nerdy as can be, and glasses that don't even have lenses in them. That's the thing.
That one strikes me as odd.
Well, because it's look, you know, it's making fun of the idea of the intellectual with glasses look being accepted as somebody who's actually intellectual, which really just means you have a vision impairment. But a lot of that vision impairment came from reading at dark light, and therefore there was most people that, you know, that read a bunch had glasses.
How we looking?
Oh, I think we're like 55 minutes. We got 10 more in us.
Okay.
But you can look at it through the basketball players and things like that. But there's other places you can find that nerd, you know. And I think you know, there's a couple things that came around. I mean, we've been around for years. Revenge of the Nerds really, I mean, it didn't make nerds cool. If in fact, if you actually go back and watch Revenge of the Nerds, they're all creepy.
They do present them kind of as creepers.
They're just creepy dudes. It's a dude movie. It's not a nerd movie.
But that's the thing. At that time, it was the acceptable thought process to present them that way.
Yeah. And
that's just like during that time frame, which I don't think this has changed too much, but like your football players, your jocks, were all kind of presented as dickheads.
And dumb.
Yeah, dumb dickheads.
Yeah. And, you know, we never got rid of that
egotistical dickheads.
We never got rid of that stereotype.
Oh, God.
I mean, a little bit. Varsity Blues helps when it's like, yeah, you know, that guy who's kind of being an asshole at school, it's because his dad beats the crap out of him every single day of his life. Maybe have, like, a little bit of patience. But at the same time, like, you go to the Big Bang Theory. I think that the Big Bang Theory was the final straw of people realizing, or maybe the Big Bang Theory was like the first post-final straw thing where companies were like, we can bank on this.
I see where you're
we
going
can
with that.
bank on this. Like, I don't know if when that started, if there were like Flash movie or you know, comic T-shirts at Walmart and, you know, Batman T-shirts at Walmart. I don't know if it was that or if it was Spider-Man 1. One of the two things. It was one of those two things. Because no comic movie since Superman, it was like a one-off. And Superman was America. Superman had been around since the 50s.
Yeah.
It wasn't a nerd thing. It was around before the nerd thing. It was
Superman,
all kids.
Batman, those things
those
were
cashed in.
I mean,
Spider-Man was
they
the
were
first
nerd
movie.
things, but they really...
Yeah, Spider-Man was
were
and Spider-Man
also
set
public
records when it
domain.
came out.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man was the first movie, so it was either probably Spider-Man or Big Bang Theory, where they realized how much they could cash in on just pure nerddom.
When did Episode 1 for Star Wars come out in comparison to the Spider-Mans?
Well, no, Star Wars has always been out. I mean, yeah, nerd stuff, but this is the thing: Star Wars was embraced in the, you know what I mean, in the 70s. Like Star Wars had
but the outcoming for, like, I remember when we went to Episode 1.
It wasn't a nerd thing. It was an action movie extravaganza.
Sure, I get that.
99.
Do you remember when we went out to see The Phantom Menace, the number of people that were there in costume?
Oh, a handful, and where I was at, I'm pretty sure at least.
Oh wait, we didn't.
No, yeah, we
came
didn't go
out
to.
in 99?
Yeah, it came out in 99. We didn't go to there. Episode 1. I saw it on TV because my dad was the kind of guy who said you can't go to the movies.
There must have been Episode 2 that we watched. Which one came out when I was in Cove?
Episode 2.
Because I remember
Episode 2.
you, me, and Damien went to it. And the thing is, there
pretty
were people in Darth Maul costumes. There were people in Leia not sexy Leia costume, just Leia.
Thankfully. No, Spider-Man came out in 02. Well, I mean, it's so Star Wars comes out in the 70s.
And Damien was with us, so it had to be 03 or later.
Star
Yeah.
Wars.
No, it had to be 03 or later.
Yeah, I was gonna say Star Wars comes out in what, 70?
You can't really even pick Star Trek as a hyper nerddom because
It is hyper nerddom, but it wasn't.
It is,
culture.
but it was so publicly
it was already
accepted.
culturally ingrained. Where it wasn't. Star Trek wasn't. Oh, that's just for nerds. It was like, well, my dad actually watches that, so I can't be like, you're a nerd.
Yeah.
But you're reading that comic book that says X-Men on it, nerd.
See, I never.
Yeah, man. I mean, for kids it wasn't at the time for a little bit because everybody watched that X-Men cartoon show.
I got really lucky at that time period where that beginning shift came. I was in Michigan, which you would have thought maybe it would have been a harder turn against it, but like the comic books, no one really gave crap about, and even the role playing, like, actually. It was weird. For me, my first role-playing experiences in Michigan. Not first in general, but in Michigan.
Were we with adults?
Well, it was with, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. But the thing that I found is almost everyone that I was role-playing with was either already in prison once or on their way back.
Well, if I was in prison, I'd be role-playing all damn day. I'd be like, hey, I guess I am DMing. Why? Because this makes it, like, so there's 4 people here who are very invested in me not dying before next week. Because they want to be able to play again.
Yeah, until you kill one of their characters.
No, because we make it so epic, and we just roll them into another character. And I make sure that, like, that particular day, I pay for security.
But no, yeah, that just...
But it seems like there was a turn. And I don't mean where nerds weren't beat up anymore. I'm saying
where
capitalists looked at it and said, we can make money selling a nerd identity. Because there was no nerd identity for sale. It was just, oh, we like X-Men. And or we like G.I. Joe and we like Transformers. And that was all the kids. And it was just some of them grew up and kept embracing certain things like Magic the Gathering or these other different things you'd come across, and but that wasn't sold to you as an identity.
No, it wasn't.
And now nerd is this identity that's sold to you at Walmart, and it kind of comes off as this like, I want to know where's that point. Was it Spider-Man?
Probably.
Or was it like I don't think it was The Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory I think embodies it. Because all the Big Bang Theory is selling you how cool it is for you to be a nerd.
Say, I think
it's a really poor show.
The Big Bang Theory is a byproduct of it.
Yeah, I think it might be a byproduct of it. And it really is. I used to watch it for the first few seasons, and then somebody showed me that Big Bang Theory with no laugh track. And I realized, oh, the only reason I've been laughing at this show is because there's a laugh track telling me to laugh, because that guy just walked in and said a sentence that's not a joke. And now there's a 2-second pause before the other guy said it, which means there's a laugh there. Well, why is there a laugh there? I say that every day when I see somebody. Oh, been another one of them days? Ha 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 ha. What? That's not that funny? But when I used to watch the first season, it's so funny. No, it really, go back and watch it with no laugh track. You realize it's actually not horribly well written as far as punchy and comedic. It's really not.
I'd have to go back.
Yeah, it's. I was surprised. Like somebody pointed that out to me, and I watched the thing, and I was like, oh, this is bad. Like this is really bad. This doesn't move. It's just this like one-liner.
To one-liner to
plot
one-liner.
Explanation, exposition,
Okay.
one-liner, and the one-liners are really hit and miss, or at least the ones they put laugh track behind. They're hit and miss as to whether they're funny.
But we're kind of running at the end of our time.
Yeah, no dogging on anybody who likes Big Bang Theory. Just do yourself a favor and watch that no laugh track. I'm just saying. Plus, just also realize that they're trying to sell you an image of who you're supposed to be as a nerd, which should just offend you automatically instead of you looking at that and going, "Oh, we're getting representation on TV," you really should be looking at that and going, "The person who's behind that in the money department is not a nerd like that. They're not doing it to bring out nerd culture. They're stereotyping and aping nerd culture in order to sell you something." So when that happens, it's kind of like, yeah, it should be offensive to you. It really should. If you're a nerd.
Well, hey, this has been Steve
And John.
from the Bullcritters Corner.
Bullcritters Corner, yeah.
And we're wishing you a nice evening.
I'm a
and
rebellious nerd.
we'll talk to you again on Friday.
I'm a rebellious nerd. Bye. See you Friday.